Hey, Chris here from The Chris Stefanik Show, where we talk about how to live out God's plan for you each and every day in your everyday life in a way that makes you more alive and more joyful. Check it out. It amazes me that while hating it, you train like a pro athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't just accidentally get an offer to go to the Seahawks.
That's right.
I mean, that's an insane amount of physical training.
Yeah.
And pressure to be. And a lot of people don't, like, I work out for fun. What's the difference between someone's working out for fun and then someone who's like professional athlete level? Like, are you always thinking about the amount of exactly what's going in your mouth? Exactly what's.
How many reps? How can you get better? I think it's also, I personally was really manipulative in that process, telling people, because you're always looking for that little bit extra edge. So I was the guy, and it's more common than not, of like, no, I'm going to go home, eat pizza tonight, this and that, and then you get home and it's chicken breast, broccoli, brown rice. But you're trying to give that illusion to your, the other tight ends. So
they would eat pizza and you would have a little edge.
That's right.
Oh man, that's intense.
You leave a workout and you're kind of like, all right, have a good day, and then you're back in the gym and you're trying to find that advantage. And you have the coaches. I think that's the biggest thing that separates normal workouts versus, these coaches. Their job's on the line, so they're trying to push you as hard as you can.
Wow.
So yeah, I wanted it bad. I wanted to be able to get the love from my mom and buy her a house. I had zero desire to actually be in the NFL playing. And
so God often sets us free from these things by having them not work.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's, if I can live with the delusion that I'm everybody's hero as long as I'm actually able to fly and like it's actually working.
Yep.
So tell me, how did he free you from this?
Well, I think it took a few more years. So that I ended up rupturing a tendon in my wrist, and my 3 best friends ended up playing in the NFL. So we were all living together, one of which signed a gigantic contract.
So one injury, you're knocked out.
That's it.
That's amazing.
And it was game over at that point. I took my first job, had surgery. I was a host in a restaurant. So I go from running out in front of 80,000 fans to now I'm in a restaurant taking names at the front desk. And that's right. And meanwhile, my roommate's best friends, one signed a $60 million contract before he even stepped on the field. So I'm tying an apron, he's out there. So the comparison games start happening.
And you were this close.
Even though we're all best friends and going to the same dinners, but I can't afford the sushi dinner. Like I'm stuck, I'm living off tips. So it was starting to become really heavy, and I lost my identity of who I was.
Wow.
I had no idea who I was going to be now or what I wanted to do.
Best thing that could have happened to you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, and then the one thing I threw myself into was fitness and dieting. Okay. And I had said to myself, if I'm not going to be in the NFL, I'm going to look like I'm in the NFL.
Okay.
And it went too far. And that was where I became really extreme in that journey, to the point where I would literally go to restaurants and I couldn't control what was on the menu, but I would bring chicken breast, get a salad and put it on my plate. We're at like nice restaurants in LA, and my buddies are like, dude, what is your deal? Like, get the pasta, it's phenomenal, or whatever. But I couldn't wrap my head around getting that many calories or not being able to control it. A lot of it was about control.
Wow.
And
again, tying back to that childhood.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
unsafe.
You want to, I did never dive into alcohol or drugs or any of that kind of stuff. I dabbered in some of that stuff, but it wasn't my outlet or my release. For me, it was food. And so then in 2015, my mom passed away unexpectedly. So I went from football as my identity to then it was my mom, and solely trying to provide for her. So then when I lost her, she went to sleep, never woke up, heart gave out. There was no issues. I appreciate it. I went off the deep end and with my eating disorder. And
so all the desire for control, approval, it was like, this is all I have left.
That's right.
That's it.
Yep.
What did going off the deep end with an eating disorder look like for you?
Basically, I was confined in my house. I wouldn't leave because I was afraid of the environments that I couldn't control. And when I would leave, what would generally happen if I went to a buddy's birthday party, I would binge on all the food there because I wouldn't ever have it and I couldn't stop. And so it was kind of this like out of body experience of letting go of control.
Wow.
And then you go into like over-exercise, trying to burn all that stuff off and punishing yourself. So I was isolated to my house with very little food in there because I knew I would binge on it. And then it basically got to a point where I sat there in my room and literally started to kind of dream of, I was living by the ocean and I was like, what if I just drifted away?
Wow.
Like, this is it. Like,
Wow.
I'm miserable. It would be easier if I was no longer here.
Throwing yourself into bulimia, wanting to die.
Yep.
This is rock bottom, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
And God, that was the moment, literally a week after that, God threw a lifeline. And I was randomly listening to a podcast on exercise. So I had no idea. I didn't even know men could get eating disorders.
Wow.
And it just so happened to be a podcast on eating disorders.
Yeah, I think the sense that no other guys like me.
Correct.
Nobody else has this.
That's right.
And there are a smaller percentage of guys that have this than women. But that lie is so isolating. That must have been totally part of the misery. Like, I'd rather be dead because there's no help if no one else is like me. It's that shame. The evil one, man.
That's right.
The end of the Bible. Revelation calls the devil the accuser of our brothers. He just wants to accuse and just isolate. And shame.
The shame was the hardest part because I started to beat myself up and I got to where I was athletically through discipline. And I could no longer control the discipline.
Wow.
I was being controlled by something, and I thought I was starting to go crazy, hence suicidal thoughts and all this kind of stuff, and the pain of my mom.
So listening to a podcast,
listening to
realize you're not alone.
All of a sudden, I'm like, what is this thing they're talking about, this eating disorder? And I had no idea what it was. So then I started to reach out and try to start like, do I need help? I need to talk about this. And when I finally got diagnosed, it felt like the weight of the world came off my shoulders because it was no longer me.
Wow.
It was an eating disorder.
Yes.
So I finally had a little positivity in my life. The momentum started to swing.
That distinction, I want to mull on that for a second, because every sin anybody deals with, or any emotional problem or wreckage in their marriage, whatever the heck it is, people instantly, the accuser of our brothers, associate it with who they are at their core. And it's like, no, this is not who I am. This is something I'm currently dealing with.
That's right.
And when you put it out there, this is one of the reasons confession is a cathartic experience.
Question.
It's like it takes that, here it is. Let's look at this with another human being. Just psychologically, that's so healing.
No question.
Counseling, same kind of effect. Of course, with confession, you also get sacramental grace, particularly with sin.
Totally.
But the whole thing is so awesome.
Yes. So I want to get, there's a story with that one too.
We need like 3 hours, man.
No
I have
question.
11 minutes left, but we're going to probably do 2 shows on this.
I love it.
Man, wasn't that cool? And by that I mean, aren't I cool? We know that I'm not. But life to the full in Jesus is really cool. So make sure you subscribe and never miss out on this great content that empowers you, equips you to live life to the full.